Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Somehow I Live podcast, hosted by yours truly, Alex Zimmerman. So let's just hop right into this one. This is probably going to be the first YouTube and Spotify podcast today. I think I got the video and audio worked out, hopefully. Obviously, I'll post it on social media if the video comes out all right. If not, I'll at least have the audio, I hope. I hope the audio saves because that would be terrible if I sat through and recorded an entire podcast and the audio didn't save. That'd be miserable. But I don't want to hold anybody up here. I've been liking the about 15-20 minute episodes here. I feel like once I have some guests on, we can be a little bit longer, obviously, because I'll have another person to talk to rather than just myself. But for the time being, you got me live and in color. So basically, just diving right into it. I've been wanting to do this episode here since beginning of last week. And I think me putting it off has led to some, I don't want to say anxieties or anything, but I feel like I've been kind of, I don't want to say obsessing, but I've been really wanting to find the time to sit down and get this recorded. And just with work and everything, I haven't really had the time to sit down and record this episode. But it's definitely going to be my heaviest episode, in my opinion. I don't know how heavy I'm going to get into it, but I definitely wanted to. I've had some things happen to people that I know recently, and it's kind of brought up some old feelings. And since I gave myself a platform and a microphone, I might as well talk about it. So, I mean, here we go. So, I mean, I'm going to be titling this episode that I'm recording. I think I'm just going to title it Loss. There's really no other way to describe it. So last week was pretty much a normal week. I work one late shift a week at work. The days vary. So usually it's from noon to 9 rather than 8 to 5. And last week, Tuesday, I had normal late shift, got up, ate breakfast, did some laundry, got some stuff done that I needed to get done, and went to work. After work, went to the gym. Sorry for just breathing into the mic, but went to work, went to the gym, and I was leaving the gym, coming home. I mean, it's usually a quick turnaround, get back from the gym around 10:30 or so. Kind of want to just finish off the protein shake, try to hop back into bed, make sure I can get to sleep at a decent time so I can get up early in the morning, get right back to work. And I got a phone call from a buddy. He was pretty upset. He was letting me know that his grandmother had just passed away, which is obviously, sorry, I'm taking my socks off here. So if you're watching this on video, you're probably like, what the heck is he doing? Just taking my socks off, trying to get comfortable. He called me up and, he was pretty upset, let me know that his grandmother had just passed away. And, obviously being there with her and getting to see her in her final moments, and just being there in that moment, and being one of the first people he called to tell. Obviously that means a lot to me as a friend, and I try to be that person for people that they can call on, and I can kind of help them help them, deal with whatever they're going through. But he brought up an interesting point, which really weighed heavy on me. His grandfather was obviously there, and him and aunt, uncles, cousins, parents, siblings, they're all mourning the loss of a woman that without her wouldn't be, on this planet, way back whenever she was a mother, gave birth to, my buddy's dad and his siblings, who then gave birth to, my buddy, his brother, and, his cousins and all that. The one person that was there, kind of holding it all together for his people around him were crying, was his grandfather who had just lost his wife. And that kind of brought me back to, a few months ago, as some of you who are listening might know, uh, I did lose my grandfather. Now, he wasn't my mom's actual dad. It was his, it was her stepfather, but him and my grandmother, my mom's mom, were married for over 40 years. Um, and my dad's dad passed away when I was 7. So I didn't really remember meeting him too much or really knowing him, which is upsetting. But I'll meet him one day, and I know that for sure. And I'll hear all the crazy stories of my dad growing up. Um, but my grandfather, or Papa, as I called him, he was the only real grandfather that I really knew and had a relationship with. And the last several months that I lived in Buffalo. I lived with him and my grandmother after my family had moved down to Tennessee. So I got to spend a lot of time with him, living with him every day, being around him, growing that relationship, and becoming really close, more close than you normally are with your grandparents. Usually, birthdays, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, that whole sort of thing. But being with them every day, him and my grandmother, it brought up those feelings that I had that I don't really even think, even till as I'm sitting here recording this, I don't even think that I've fully processed yet. I in the moment when it happened, I got a text message from my mom. I was at work. She was like, hey, tell your boss, like, you have to go. Like, they're saying it's going to be soon and they want all the family members there. And I remember we flew up there, and this is my mom's second father figure in her life that she's had to say goodbye to, which is a lot more than a lot of people can say, to know two men as, a father and a stepfather, and not just outlive one of them, but outlive both of them, but get to spend a significant amount of time with the two of them. And I just remember, my seeing my mom, and this kind of reminds me of my buddy's grandfather, and seeing her and everybody else, obviously very emotional, his kids and, grandkids, being upset, obviously, for losing their father. But, I was there with my mom, and I just knew that in that moment in time that, I needed to be there for her, um, to lean on as someone who has faith and, can keep a composure to help her with losing someone, and just being that solid person when it's needed. She, I don't think my mom would ever say it, nor would anybody really say it, but you know when someone needs you to be strong, um, even in a great time of loss. And I'm not saying that you should put your feelings on the back burner. Everybody's got their own way of dealing with loss, and I know for a good majority of my life, my way of dealing with loss wasn't always the healthiest and the safest, but we're doing better now. But I just knew that I needed to be there for her. And same way with my buddy's grandfather in a room full of people as his wife is, taking her final breaths and saying goodbye to this world that she knew. And, hopefully, I pray that she moved on to a better place. He was strong for the family. Um, that brings me to a quote I heard, a long time ago, and it's something that, I try to live by, which is, you go through this life with all these adversities and all these trials and tribulations and, loss of a friend, loss of a spouse, loss of a relationship, loss of a loved one, loss of a job. You get put through all of this stuff, and I just remember I heard this quote, you go through all of this stuff so you can be the strongest person at your father's funeral. um, because as everybody else is suffering out loud, it's kind of your place to suffer in silence for a little bit and be the strongest person you can be for everybody else that's around you, because they need you to be that person. um, in the few months that have passed, it's been difficult thinking back to, hockey seasons coming up. Bill season, Sabre seasons are coming up, and the amount of games and on TV we'd watch together, and just thinking he never got to see a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup. I know he wanted to see both, but gotta love Buffalo sports teams. Hopefully they can turn it around here. But dealing with loss is different in every case, because everybody grieves differently, and different circumstances allow people to grieve differently, either quicker or have a delayed reaction. um, I don't want to say I moved past, because obviously I loved my grandfather and anybody else that I've lost in this life, friends, other acquaintances that I've lost. I don't think you ever truly fully move on, but you do in a sense find your peace, and you make it what it needs to be in that moment for you. And it's difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't have any feelings, because that would be a lie. I know for a long time I didn't want to have feelings. I didn't want to deal with any of the realness that there was in this world. And I chose some different ways to cope with things, rather than just facing my feelings head on. But I've learned to deal with myself and deal with how I feel, and not let things eat away at me, and to cope and grieve in a healthy way. And with talking to people and sharing my feelings, I've finally come to the realization that it's okay to feel. And for a long time I didn't want to feel, and I didn't think it was okay for me to feel, because I don't know, just being a kid and growing up and stuff. But yeah, it's it's with heavy hearts that we have to say goodbye to our loved ones. Um, that's to, it's difficult. But as I always say, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Um, one of my favorite Sorry, I'm just gonna pull up the verse real quick here. It's my favorite Bible verse. As of late, I just feel like it's fitting for pretty much everything that's been going on for the past few years. I mean, we've all been through a lot with global politics and economy, this and whatever else you want to believe in is what's going on in the world. But this quote or this Bible verse actually helps me out in my time of need, which can be all the time, to be honest with you. But it's 2 Corinthians 4, verses 17 through 18. If you're a religious person, you probably know it. If you're not a religious person, I would recommend reading it. But essentially, all it is this too shall pass. And maybe that's what I'll title this podcast, is this too shall pass. It may sting right now. It may sting for a week, a month, a year, 2 years, a decade. God tests his toughest soldiers, and this too shall pass. So no matter what you're feeling or what you're going through, no matter what magnitude you think that it's at, I can sit here and say to you, I mean, you probably don't want to hear it from me. But if you don't want to hear it from yourself or anybody else, it's going to be okay. This too shall pass. In time, when you're ready, no matter what it is, the situation, the circumstances, it will pass. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got for that subject there. I don't know how long I've been going here. It doesn't really tell me how long I've been going. Excuse me, but I guess I'll just throw a couple updates here at you. Sorry if that was a little too heavy for you. That came from the heart, and I was happy that I finally got that off my chest and out of the way because I've been thinking about it for a little over a week. Yeah, I know that's all I could come up with. But that's how I truly feel. Since last we spoke, not too much. I'm up to almost 100 total listens. The last podcast episode that I released did pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, I did really well. Most of the pods that I've put out there have done pretty well. As far as the merch goes, a lot of the stuff they're just out of stock. So I'm gonna figure that out. Try to get different same products, just ones that have all available sizes and colors that I want. So I'll be working on that. If you can find your size, buy it, great. But what else? Oh, so I am available on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music /Audible. So if you're not listening to me, that's probably because you have Apple. Spreaker's free. You can also listen to me on my website, spotify.com/somehow I live or whatever the heck they do. Instagram, Somehow I Live Podcast. YouTube, Somehow I Live Podcast. I'm pretty sure this recording did all right. So I'm going to be hossing this up on YouTube there. Give me a subscribe, share it. I found a website, an AI website. Gotta love AI. That'll do like reels or YouTube shorts. Get some virality out of it. Get that out there. I have a Clips channel, Clips, that I'm gonna post whatever the AI software spits out to me. But other than that, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I love you. I appreciate the support, the kind words. Another quote, Christian Bale quote. If you're upset or you need me, call me. But if you don't have my number, then you're in no position to be upset or need me. That's not, I don't know if that's from Christian Bale. I think I just heard him say it once, but if you're an old friend or a friend and you need something, I'm always available. I'll always take that 3 a.m. phone call, no matter what it is. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to get that out there for you all. I appreciate it. Again, if you're dealing with loss or dealing with something, I hope this episode finds you well. And I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks.